G'day, welcome to Realms of Power. My name's Dr. Tony Rudd and I'm the host of this show. The purpose of Realms of Power is to turn your true aligned power on, or turn your tap on, as we like to say. We broke this down into 12 different realms in our very first episode, and we've had a whole lot of guests come on the show to help with their specific area that might help you turn your power on. Now, this is designed for people that might be stuck somewhere, down on their power, low on energy, or just want to live their most unbelievable, magnificent life. So my background is a chiropractor for 25 years, helping people turn their power on through alignment and optimizing of their nervous system. I've seen such phenomenal change. I've also been a life coach in the personal development field for almost 20 years, helping people physically, chemically, emotionally, spiritually, all the different realms. And it's been an honor to be able to help so many people. That's why we've done this podcast. Now, if you'd like to find out more, I have a personal website on www.tonyrudd.com.au, and we have a Facebook page for Realms of Power to access all the episodes. They're available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all of the different platforms as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have an awesome day. See ya. G'day, Dr. Tony here with the Realms of Power podcast. And today I have an amazing guest who is a naturopath and a great friend of mine. And I'd like to introduce her and how she'll be able to help you turn on your power. So Gosia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute honor. And I know as a naturopath, you have helped so many individual clients over the years. Can you tell and share with our audience how you got into naturopathy?
Absolutely. I would love to talk about that. I think it starts all when I was younger and I was very drawn to nature. And as a young girl living in Poland, I was always looking at nature, hanging out with my dogs or climbing trees. And I was very curious about nature. So then 20 years later, when I moved to Australia, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I knew that I wanted to help people, but also my love for nature was there too. So I combined those two together. I was in Melbourne at that time, and I discovered a College of Natural Therapies. And that's where I signed up for 5 years studying, and I ended up with a degree of naturopathy.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how old were you when you moved to Australia from Poland?
So I was 20.
Yeah. And was that a family decision or was that you yourself?
It's a long story, so I'm trying to summarize it somehow. So I came to visit my mom, who was living here for a moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I didn't know where to go. I just came to visit her apparently for 2 weeks. And here I am 38 years later, happily living in Australia.
Yeah, I love your accent. And 38 years in Australia, you still have the accent.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. So you finished your course, the 5-year course down in Melbourne. And what was it like doing the course itself?
I was always curious about human body and anatomy, physiology, how the human body works. So that gave me bigger understanding about the details. And also we had lots of different subjects about plants, herbal medicine. So I loved that as well. And it was hard for me because I was new in Australia and I didn't know English very well. But I basically spent 5 years studying, not doing anything else, just trying to learn English and studying at the same time.
Yeah, that sounds full on. And it's when you immerse yourself in the educational process like that, that with your love of nature and your new country and your learning of the language, you've found a passion that's sort of been a passion of yours for your life. I know the passion you have for the human body and helping people live their best life. So how did your career start in naturopathy? Did you start in private practice or how did you start out?
I would like to first explain little bit of history because that would relate to how I started,
Sure.
if you don't mind. So what happened was that soon after I finished my degree, I had already one child. And then soon after, my mom was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh.
And this was really unexpected. She was diagnosed, and they gave her very poor prognosis. They said that she will only have 6 months to live.
Goodness.
And so I was following her on her journey in a medical system. And what happened then was that I realized that my mom wasn't taking responsibility for her health. She was just following, so to speak, orders, or following what the doctors were saying. So here we're talking about standing in our power and taking responsibility for our health. And what I realized then is that my mom wasn't doing that at all. My mom was a nurse, and she very much believed in doctors and what they're saying, they're recommending. And I was totally against it. I was trying to ignite that power within her to fight for her life, to improve her health. However, she was very passive, and I felt that she didn't stand up in her power. I felt that she was I was just frustrated with the process, what happened at the hospital. So looking at that, the whole scenario, the 6 months where she was at the hospital in and out, it really gave me bigger insight into understanding that we need to take control of our health and our habits and what we're doing with our like everything that we're doing daily, because if we don't, then someone else takes control of our life and what may happen to us as well. So that was like a little awakening to me to understand that we need to be responsible for our health and own it.
God, I wouldn't say that's a little one. I would say that's a massive one, with your own mother going through a life-threatening illness. And so many people, I'm sure, listening to this would have been touched or affected by cancer. And that's one of many types of scenarios where the medical system comes in. And as a naturopath, there's often, sometimes I would say, a battle between the philosophy and principles of naturopathy. There has certainly been chiropractic as well. So, in standing into your power, you've had that real life experience, and then you've wanted to translate that across both to your own life and to the clients that you've looked after. How would you say you've been able to do that? Because it's not just about taking the thing you recommend, it's about standing into their power. Can you say more into that?
Absolutely. That's what I do daily. I like to start always with basics when I'm talking to my patients, and just not to complicate things because it doesn't have to be complicated. So people come here because to see me because they've got different health ailments and different issues. But in my opinion, it all starts with, as you say a lot of times, standing in your power, taking responsibility. So what I do is that I like to help people to do that, to take responsibility for their health. So I have a lot of clients who come to see me and they take medication, lots of different types of medications, and they don't often even know what it's for, or how long they've been on it, or why they're taking it. After a while, they just take it as a habit and they don't really know why they're taking it. So, what I like to do is to make them aware of what actually is happening and what is this medication doing, and helping them to understand that there is always an alternative solution. An alternative is basically looking after your diet and exercise, which is quite simple, but many of us are not doing that. So I like to encourage people and make them aware of those daily habits and put them in practice.
So, would you say some of the people that come to you have come to you from often a referral, but they might have feel like that the mainstream system, the medical system, if you want to call it that, has failed them, and then they're looking for another answer. So that's that first step of standing into their power, looking at an
Absolutely.
alternative road.
Absolutely. It's almost every day I have clients who've been to the GP, who've been to the specialist. Sometimes they waiting months to get to the specialist, and they're very hopeful that, oh, now the specialist will give me all the answers. And then they're very disappointed because they're seeing specialists for only a few minutes and they just giving them another prescription. So they try the medication, but that doesn't resolve anything. So then they come here because they're so disappointed in the medical system. And so what I like to do is always start with basics. And basics means getting good sleep, looking into what you're eating. And by that is just eating clean foods. That's what I'm saying. Not to put anyone on a diet, but eating clean, simple foods without excluding all the processed foods. Drinking quality water, exercising every day, connecting with nature. It all sounds very simple, and everyone knows that that's what we should be doing. However, when you talk to people, some people sit in front of computer all day long, and then they come home, they in a hurry, and they grab takeaway, and they may be even eating in a car. So there is all this. It's all about habits and being aware of what we're doing every day.
So there's a word I've used before, I'm sure we've talked about it before, which is victim consciousness, where they're a victim and, oh, it's because, and they use the excuse and, oh, I could eat better, but, I'm too busy, or I should do more exercise, but they've really given away their power. And what you're saying is it's very basic. It's known pretty much, but when they hear your power and certainty as a health practitioner, they can stand more into their power and take responsibility rather than being in that victim consciousness. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. What I've noticed is that talking to people who are facing life-threatening disease, suddenly they do have time. They do quit work because they want to heal the body. It's something that it wasn't possible earlier. Now it's possible. So I know that if we want to, we can find time to go for walk and exercise. It doesn't have to be any classes at the gym or anything fancy. It can be just walking, and ideally without the shoes, connecting with the ground, and just that really helps us to connect to nature, I guess. So when people are very unwell and they can't walk, I advise them just to sit, ideally at the beach or in a park or even in a garden when they can't do anything else, and getting that natural sunlight and getting fresh air. Very simple things like that can be a great start.
Yeah. So the people that have got that crisis health thing are probably more motivated. The people that are already doing the good habits don't need to change. Who I guess we're talking to here are the people that know what they should do and haven't done it yet. So one of your tests I know you do is something called live blood analysis. And for some people that think they're okay, when they get that, what impact does that have on them?
People love this test because there is nothing more powerful than seeing part of the arm's microscopic tissue under the microscope. So it's nothing more powerful than seeing your own blood on the screen. So people really connect with that, because with other tests, what I've noticed is that there is some numbers are written, the tests which we're getting through the doctors. There are some numbers written, and there are brackets we should fit into certain brackets, and that doesn't tell them much. Even if they're unwell, the tests are telling them that everything is fine, and that doesn't make sense for them. However, here, when people are not feeling great, when they're fatigued, when they can't sleep, when they have aches and pains, digestive issues, all those different things, and then the blood is congested, which means that there is not enough oxygen flowing through the blood, then we can understand why they're feeling the way they're feeling. So people really connect with that. And the blood that we're seeing on the screen should look certain way. So the red blood cells should be round, and they should be separate, flowing nicely, bouncing off each other. They should be nicely oxygenated. So on the other hand, if they're congested, that clearly means that something is not right.
So for the listeners, can you just, you sort of have explained it a little bit, but can you just give a very short summary of what that difference is between a live blood analysis that you would do versus the medical test? How would it be done? What would it look like?
Yes, so let's start with the medical test where they take few ampules, they call it, of the blood, and then the blood, by the time it's tested, it's actually then dead, and then they mixing it with chemicals. And what they're doing next is that they comparing to the population. Someone at that age should fit in that category, and then you in that particular bracket. So it's very confusing for most people because when someone doesn't feel well, or even I've got cancer patients who are given few months to live and they've got tests done, and the tests are showing that everything is fine. So they just question the tests because that just doesn't make sense. And many times people they feel that something is not right, that they maybe have pain where on the right hand side where they've got liver, or they've got difficulties losing weight, or difficulties digesting fatty foods. So that would indicate that they've got fatty liver, for example. But the medical tests are not showing that. So then people are just confused. They don't know why this is not showing. And the reason it's not showing is because it's not specifically testing for that. It's the same with thyroid. They give you just one range, and that is just not showing us anything about the thyroid. So they limit it. That's all I'm trying to say, that some of the things we can find out from the tests, like level of B12 or D3 or something like that, we can find out from those tests, but they limit it in what they can show us. Where live blood analysis is very different. We only testing one drop of the blood, which is put on the little slide, and then it goes under the microscope, and that is enlarged, and then we can see picture on the screen. And because the blood is fresh and is alive, it's very easy to see what is currently happening in a body. So is that blood well oxygenated, or is it actually congested, and does it have like clots, and does it have anything? And now post vaccination, I can see lots of different unusual things in blood. So people actually book a lot for live blood analysis because they want to see, hey, I wasn't vaccinated, but I want to see if there is still something in my blood because of shedding, or is it, how does my blood look like? So there is quite a lot of things that we can read in blood. We can see if there are fibrins indicating issues with the liver, or if we can check white blood cells. Do we have enough, or do we have not enough, or how do they look like? How is the immune system going? But the main thing is to check oxygenation. And oxygenation is, as we know, is foundation of health. Without oxygen, we obviously cannot live very long. So we want to check how much oxygen we've got in that blood. So if it's flowing beautifully and separately, all good, no problem, which is really rare to see. When I work with people and when we clean the system, improve the digestion, improve the liver function, yes, then it can improve within a month. We can see a difference.
Oh, I love how lit up you are. It's so cool. And look, how many times would you have tested someone and done a consult, and they don't even really know what live blood analysis is? They might even think they're going not too bad, and then they see it on the screen, and that becomes the reality that, oh my God, I could be more in my power, more oxygenated, more healthy if I was to do X, Y, and Z. How many times have you seen that?
Oh, I would love to talk about it. Just popped into my head. I would like to talk about this particular client I had who came here with his wife, and it wasn't his conscious choice to come here. A majority of my clients are women, and very often they bring partners. And partners usually they don't want to come. They don't know what I'm doing. So this particular man, he was very closed off. His arms were crossed. He had this strange look on his face looking at me. He didn't want to be here in this room. And he was on many different medications. He was very unwell, couldn't sleep properly. He was had very low energy. Everything was wrong with him, so to say. And his wife already was on her health journey. She lost 20 kilos and she improved so very much. So that's why she brought him here. So initially he wasn't very open to it. So I didn't really discuss much with him. I just said, let's start with taking your sample and just we'll see what's happening with the blood. So we did the test and I showed him how the normal sample should look like. And then we did the test for him and his blood was seriously congested. It was nothing was moving. We couldn't see even one separate red blood cell floating on its own. So he he didn't know what to say. He was very surprised, and he said, "So why is this happening? What should I do?" And I said, "Well, I'm happy to guide you through this, but first I would like to understand for you to tell me how do you feel looking at your blood? How does it make you feel?" And he just said, "I feel weak." That's all he said. "I feel weak." And I felt that he was a bit emotional saying that. He realized he could see that he's not in a good health. And before he ignored that. Now it was very obvious. So he didn't say much. I just, advised him to do certain things, to improve his diet. We didn't really discuss much after that because he wasn't really keen to discuss it. He was listening to me, but he wasn't really keen to go into details. Anyway, 1 month passed. He came back. He booked on himself, and he actually was a completely different person when he came back for the second time. He was much more open. He was making little jokes. He was smiling a lot, and he basically changed everything in his life. Everything. And when I've done his test a month later, the blood really improved. And he was amazed. He was absolutely surprised that it changed so quickly. What is the funny thing is that his wife came week after him, and she said that he drives her crazy now because he reads all the labels when they go shopping and he doesn't want to eat sweets anymore. And he constantly wants to every morning go for a walk, even if it's raining. So he really stood up in his power.
Well, when you said when he looked at the test and said he was weak, and I could feel the emotion that you shared that with because you were in the room with him. That really is the opposite to power, isn't it? In this realm, in the body chemistry realm, and that can affect all parts of your body. If you're weak, if you're coagulated, if you're blocked, and that might be the thing that would inspire someone to turn their power on, to actually see what's going on. So what would you recommend for people out there who want to improve their power? Would it be to just start by just going to get a live blood analysis?
Yeah, the first thing I would do is for someone to take responsibility for their health. Because without that, yes, someone can push you to come and visit me, but it's really taking charge of your health and your even making the decision and coming here is your responsibility. So I really like suggesting that first. And then when you come here, seeing your blood is quite amazing. People really connect with that and understand more about their health. So I would say this is a very good first step.
I love that. And as you know, I'm a chiropractor, and often when people have seen the X-ray that we've taken, we can see the alignment.
It's similar.
I can push on their back and they can have a sore back, but when they see the reality of what a normal X-ray should look like, and then they see their misalignment or degeneration, they then tend to take it a lot more seriously because they've had that revealed to them, and they don't want to be weak or they don't want to be in pain or down on their power. So,
and I think what happens is that some people get used to the way they feel and they just accept it.
Yeah.
They don't think there is anything else because when they're seeing a doctor, they don't discuss the diet. Even with cancer patients, I worked a lot with cancer patients, in the past at the specific clinic for cancer. And people never realize that it has anything to do with the diet, which is amazing that they don't even realize that there is a connection there, because the doctors are not mentioning. Actually, the doctors are telling them that the diet has nothing to do with the disease. So for me, it's hard to understand that, because everything that we put in our mouth is either healing us or killing us. So it's just like we have to make this decision what we are actually doing and be more conscious of our habits.
Well, people would know if they put the wrong fuel in their car, it's not going to run so well. But they, again, just put sugar in or whatever other food they put in, and they end up either, for me, my summary has always been with the diet nutrition, they're either toxic, they've either had too much of something they shouldn't have, or they're deficient, not enough of something they need. And that's where I think naturopathy is just ace, because you can read that. You're not just guesswork. You're looking at their nutrition, you're giving them advice about how they can get rid of toxicity or boost up some sort of deficiency. Would that be a fair summary?
Absolutely. Lots of naturopaths are doing lots of different or recommending different tests. Nothing wrong with doing tests. However, those tests are very expensive a lot of times, like hair analysis, stool analysis, hormonal tests. They usually are quite expensive. So what I tend to do is to look at the symptoms. Like in the old way, the doctors were looking at the symptoms, analyzing first, what can we do something to start with, which is very obvious. And for most people, obvious things is the diet and taking a lot of medication or the supplementation, which is not correct for them. The supplements, sometimes people just choose some supplements because they think it's going to be good for them. So it's really good to consult with the naturopath to confirm and to make sure that the supplements they're taking, that they are right for them.
Yeah, excellent. Now, look, I know you also do some alternative things as well. And I know you mentioned just before about you're seeing some of the reactions that people have had to the COVID vaccine.
Yes.
And you've looked at alternative solutions to that, because there's a lot of people out there that are unsure about it. And I know that they've taken it off the register for under 18-year-olds now in Australia. What's your comments on that as a global thing, without being too controversial here? Just you're seeing a lot of people have negative side effects. What would you say to people, our listeners, about that topic?
It is a controversial topic. I would say, well, don't do it to start with. But if you already had the vaccination, COVID vaccine or other vaccines, which is often shingles or flus, like people have multiple different ones, I would say that it's essential to detoxify your body, because your body is very smart and it always is on your side. It's always trying to help you to detoxify. We just often have to help our system. So I've got lots of different strategies to detoxify the body. Very much in that topic, always learning about new ways, what can be done about that, and I'm educating myself on frequent basis, because it is a new problem that we have, that lots of people have side effects. So yes, I've got all sorts of different ideas here to help to detoxify. But the first step would be to check the blood to see what can we find in the blood, because I assure you that there is lots of different strange, different things that I see in the blood, which I've never seen before. So it's definitely related to the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. And when people have got, let's use cancer as the example, and they choose to go down the mainstream medical path, would you say that they can see you as well as the mainstream path?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you're not trying to say, hey, mine's the right way, not medical.
Absolutely.
We need medical care. Absolutely. And it's working with that person to get them the best result. And that's really what we're going for here.
Because ideally, in an ideal situation, we should be working together with the doctors. That would be the ideal scenario. However, it's not a common scenario. So if we can combine it, that if someone chooses to work with the oncologist and chooses to have the treatments, then it's their choice again. If they're standing in the power and they decide to do that, that's their decision. And I can also help to detoxify, to improve their immune system, to wherever they need improvement, I can help with that.
I love that. And one of the things I know you do really, really well is your morning routine, morning ritual. Can you say to the listeners about your morning ritual or routine? Because a lot of it is just simple, but it's getting those good habits of a morning routine that people then don't have to think about, oh, another thing I've got to do. It just becomes a ritual or routine. Can you say about the habits and the routine, especially in the morning?
Yes, I love my habits. You mentioned morning habits, which I will talk about in a second, but I love habits in general because I believe that when you practice something long enough, you don't think about it anymore, you just do it. So, talking about morning ritual is that I actually look forward to it because we wake up with my partner and we just go to the beach. We take the dogs and we go to the beach, watch the sunrise, and it's a walk which is more like a meditative walk where we don't have to talk too much. We often do, but it's also often just a quiet walk, just to be and enjoy environment and the beautiful sun. And very often when we come back almost daily, then we jump into the sauna, and then in summer we go into ice bath. Not now. Now it's too cold. But in general, we jump in an ice bath, which gives us energy for the whole day.
Mm. So giving energy is again a reflection of power. So for people that don't feel they're in their energy in their physical body, because this episode really has been about the physical body, the
Yes.
body chemistry and the physical body. And if they are down on energy, they're down on power. What would you say as an overriding theme of what you've noticed being a practitioner for many, many years is going to help people lift their energy?
Number one thing is connecting with nature. I believe that it's part of those daily habits, going outside and seeing the sunrise or just being outside and observing nature. That's the great place to start.
Mm. Wow, that's brilliant.
And it sounds very simple. It sounds like, oh, maybe some people are doing something more advanced at that. But I believe that everyone can do that, can connect with nature. And it's very simple, doesn't cost us anything. It's available to everyone. And it's a really beautiful place to start.
Oh, God, I absolutely love that. And so, for those people who would want to find out about your services, now you're here on the Sunshine Coast. And can you tell the listeners about the name of your practice here and what services you offer?
So, the name of my business is Detox House, and I offer naturopathy. I'm also a qualified herbalist and nutritionist, and I do, as we said, live blood analysis.
Mm. And what's the other bit of hardware you have in the back room out there? The resonance bed.
Oh, the resonance bed. I forgot about that. In the other room, I've got this amazing resonance bed, which is very healing and calming. And I've got quite a few people who are coming here on a regular basis. And it's a beautiful tool to help people to relax and heal the body.
And how does it work?
So it works through frequencies which are recorded on the iPad, and those frequencies go through an amplifier and speakers which are connected to the bed, and the bed has a water mattress. So then those frequencies go through the mattress. When we're laying on this water bed, then we're feeling the frequencies on our body. So the body vibrates at different vibrations, whatever program I put on. And it could be programmed for the liver, to detoxify the liver, for example, or it could be for trauma. One of the program is called PTSD. So I often use that one. And I've seen incredible results when people are using the resonance bed.
God, you've just offered so many amazing tools to our listeners. So I really appreciate and acknowledge your time today. The website for your business, what would that be called? Just so people are crystal clear.
It's called detoxhouse.com.au.
Yeah, so that's an easy one to find. So is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with the listener?
Just don't overcomplicate things. Start simple. I feel that people are often feeling lost because they don't know where to start. So as I said many times now, that getting outside, spending time in nature, and doing simple things like walking, finding a community group of people who can support you. That's really important. So then you don't feel that you're on your own. And I'm very keen to help people and to help them to stand in the power. So if someone would like to connect, then I would be more than happy to help.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. The simple things in life are often the best.
I love simplicity.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in once again. Have an awesome day. See ya.
Thank you, Tony.
I just wanted to add a special add-on to this podcast. After speaking with Gosia after our recording, she felt that getting the message across of simple was very difficult because so many people find that they're looking for that special thing. And then when she asks them in a consult if they're actually doing the simple thing, they're not doing it. So an example was a dad rang up and asked for special tests and supplements for his son. And she just started with asking, well, what does he have for breakfast? The answer was Weet Bix and milk. And so she said, just stop eating Weet Bix and milk and start eating something more healthy. And he was shocked because he was waiting for the test, waiting for the special thing. So that was just an example of what simplicity really means. It doesn't have to cost much. It doesn't have to be that hard. It can be that simple. So hopefully you got some of that message. Keep it simple. The simple things in life are often the best. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Realms of Power. I have such gratitude for your time and energy and the vision to join us with turning your true aligned power on. To take your power up another level, you could share this episode with someone who you think would benefit or make a comment online that would help us get this information out there. We'd really appreciate your love and support. Hope you have an awesome day. See ya.